What's good, yo? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanoz, aka Coach V, and we got a jam-packed episode here. This is episode 235. I am recording this partially on February 18th, 2023. We'll obviously record between today and tomorrow, as this should be releasing on February 20th, 2023. Just want to make sure I get my timestamps there. And like I said, this is a jam-packed episode. Here's how it's going to go down. So there's going to be timestamps, so you could always skip around if you want. But basically, I'm going to finish up some of these season previews. I want to do Milligan and then some of the newer programs here that will be beginning their first year, their first campaign of their program, and so that'll be really exciting to talk about. We'll talk about last year for Milligan specifically, but then for all the teams, we'll talk about this year, the players that have, key players, coaches, all of that great stuff. Also talk about their schedule as well, get a feel for how that's going to go. And so first part of this episode will be all season previews. Then after that, we're going to talk about week 1 of the season. We got 4 really good games here in the Sun Conference. We have St. Thomas versus Warner, Keiser versus Florida Memorial, Thomas versus St. Thomas, and then Weber versus Florida Memorial. So really getting our first looks at a lot of teams here. So that'll be really exciting to talk about. And then we'll talk Playmaker of the Week. From those 4 games, we'll pick one player. We'll talk about all the players that did well, but eventually select one playmaker for that. And then we'll go ahead and release our power rankings. Talk about that. I wanted to do preseason ones. It just didn't work out. So this is going to be kind of a combination of preseason and week 1 power rankings. And so if you want to go check out our power rankings from last year, the last ones that ever dropped, go ahead and do that. We'll be working off of those, plus combined with the games that went down this first week of the season. And then we'll wrap it up. And so there you go. That's the map of this episode. Like I said, if you want to skip around, go for it. But we should have a lot of great content talking about a lot of great programs and athletes out here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's start with a program that was neither in the Sun Conference or the KCAC. I mean, they play teams from both. They're in Tennessee, so they're kind of just in the middle there, which is a tough go. But this year it should get a little bit easier. But let's talk about Milligan and their program here. Last year just had a really tough year. Finished last in the power rankings, but I know they also had a interim head coach, and so this year they do have a new head coach, Ryan Whitten. I'm gonna throw this out there because I am from Dallas. He is the brother of former Dallas Cowboys and I guess Raiders tight end Jason Whitten. And so there you go there. Really interesting here about Ryan Whitten. He has about 26 years of football experience. He was actually an assistant coach on this team last year. This year he's just been elevated to head coach, and so definitely some stability here to kind of continue to build on what they have moving forward. But last year was definitely a tough year. They only had 1 win of the season, where they beat Cody at home 7-6. That was after Brooke Housley found Maya Yuri, I believe, on a nice little touchdown pass. And obviously they got the conversion as well. But other than that, I mean, they were 1-8 last year. Had a little bit of a late start. I know there was some chaos there, and they had to go, take a trip to Florida where they played a lot of their games, and then came back, and Cody went to their place where they played 2 games. And so there was a lot going on. That also includes their performance in the national tournament as well. So a tough year, but this year we should see some stability. They are playing a lot more games. They have 17 games scheduled so far from both the major conferences, the KCAC and the Sun Conference here. And so they play 2 KCAC teams, on March 2nd here. That is Midland and Kansas Wesleyan, so that should be a good little matchup to open against. And then they have a number of Sun Conference teams that they will be playing as well. They play Thomas on March 13th, Weber the next day, Warner that same day. Then they play Warner again April 6th. I want to say they go there if I'm not mistaken. And then they also play Weber right after that. And so they're playing a couple of teams. Well, they're playing Warner and Weber twice there, and then playing Thomas that one time. And so should be some good experience to get against very quality teams in those games. But they are also playing a number of new programs as well, including Campbellsville on March 2nd, 13th, and 23rd. They play them 3 times here, which is really interesting because it's not all in Kentucky, but that's where Campbellsville is based out of, and so that kind of adds another team closer to them that's not super far away. So there you go there. They play another new program in Reinhardt on March 2nd, and then they play a couple 2-year JUCO programs, I assume, here in Hawking College on the 14th, Gateway, which is from Florida, by the way, on the 8th, and then there's a team labeled NC Central on the 12th, and so that'll be interesting to see who that is. I tried looking it up. I don't believe I found the right information, so it is what it is. But a couple of things to note about this schedule. So they play 4 games scheduled on March 2nd. Obviously, there could be changes to the schedule. You know, they either drop games, add games, move them. That's all part of this thing, as it is a growing sport. You know, you gotta be flexible there. But 4 games in one day is definitely a lot there. So just throwing that out there. That's kind of right at the beginning of the season, and so on the bright side, you will know what kind of team you have better like at the beginning than at the end, and be able to make the adjustments as you go. And then on top of that, they have 3 games scheduled on the 14th. That's obviously not as much there, but still a lot of games early on in March here, which is understandable. I mean, they're hosting, Campbellsville is hosting, they have other teams hosting, and then they play multiple games while they're already there. That is not a bad strategy at all, obviously, and that's a lot more games than last year, and so will give them a lot more experience and time to get going here, which is important, which is good, you know, improve the quality of the program, and just play a lot of teams and see a lot of teams. So there you go. But let's talk about the roster. They have a little bit of a smaller roster here. Brooke Housley, Danny Bartocci, Tiana Stamus, I want to say, and Maddie Manier are all not on the team anymore. I believe Housley and Bartocci both graduated, so there you go, and they both played quarterback slash, you know, had a big role with this team, so that's kind of tough here. They only had a 1 addition in Caitlin Quinn, who's listed as a wide receiver slash safety, and so altogether, I believe they have just about 10 players, which is definitely on the shorter side here. It's hard to play games with kind of a smaller roster in general, but just looking at their schedule, seeing how many games they play in one day, that could definitely be tough. But who knows, they could always add on players, have walk-ons as well, and maybe they're just not listed on their official roster right now. But let's talk about key players. Let's start with Maya Uri here. Really believe she came on a little late in the season, but, you know, had some good games, had some nice receptions, and in my opinion, really emerged as a legitimate wideout 2 there, carving out her own role there. So love to see that. But it was only second to Liz Burns, who I'm pretty sure led the team in receptions and yards, and at the national tournament, I would say she definitely did that, and was arguably their number 1 receiver when all was said and done. She's a really good athlete. Got to watch her when she played those Florida teams back last year. And then you have Catherine Allen. She's listed at quarterback. I mean, they don't post their stats like some other teams, but I was able to find from Weber's website that against Weber, she actually played against them last year. I mean, didn't do super well, 104 yards, 2 picks. It's okay, but it's still, you know, it's still experience, which is what matters, because like I said, I'm pretty sure Housley and Bartocci were taking a lot of those snaps at QB last year, and quarterback is a very important position, especially in flag football, and so I would assume she is going to be the quarterback moving forward here. We'll see though, you know, we'll definitely see. But regardless, I'm really excited about this program. I felt like we really didn't get to see a lot of them last year. They had a little bit of a late start. By the time they played, most teams in the country were like mid-season, so it was just not the most fair thing that happened, which, I mean, you can't really blame anybody but yourselves on that, because it's scheduling, and plus you're a lot farther from teams than other programs are, because they're actually part of a conference that are, regional and whatnot. And so this year, I like how they scheduled a lot of games. It's obviously really planned this out here, having the ability to play a lot of different teams, a number of contenders here, new programs, a good mix of JUCO programs as well, just so that the team could get better. And I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. You want to get your athletes as much experience as possible, as much game experience as possible, especially after last year where you didn't have a lot of games. The games you did get were, majority of the time, were on away trips, right? Or were all played in one day. And so this time it's definitely scheduled out a little bit more stretched throughout the entire football season, instead of just like a couple weeks, they're active and then that's it, right? And so storylines, right? It'll be really interesting to see where this team ranks here compared to some of the new programs that are joining in. I think that's a very realistic thing here, because some of these new programs, they're the new kids on the block. I don't know if there's a team like Thomas in this group of first-year programs. Because Thomas was special, and that was really hard to do. But you're going to have programs that are all kind of on the same level. They're getting used to the game, the speed. I mean, you're playing the best of the best as well. And so, obviously things are going to be revealed. You're going to see, who could really play on this level and who might need a little bit more work, and what adjustments you can make, both as athletes and coaches. And so I really want to see how they stack up against some of those new programs, since they will be playing a lot of those teams. And then I want to just see how much they get better. I don't know if they could crack like the top 7 or 6 in the country, because there's a lot of competitive programs and they do have a really small roster. But we'll see. If they could get inside the top 10, I think that is a win for them. And there will be chances for them to do that. They're playing some really quality programs, like I said. And so, the closer you play some teams, or maybe you upset some of those teams, that will go a long way for them. And so the story for Milligan is just really all about improvement, I would say. I don't know how good they're going to be, to be honest. But I want to see where they stack up against some other teams and see how they continue to learn and get better moving forward, and continue to establish themselves as a very stable program. I mean, they are one of the programs that have been around for 3 years, I want to say, since the beginning. So there you go there. But that is Milligan. Let's go ahead and move on here and talk about some of the other programs that will be new this year that haven't played college women's flag football before yet. Let's go ahead and go west to Kansas here, more specifically Bethel College in North Newton, Kansas. They will be a new program. They will be joining the KCAC here. And so they'll be joining a conference that has been widely ran by Ottawa. But, you're adding more teams. Who knows? There's going to be a bit more competition here. And so that should be super exciting. But let's talk about their head coach first, Angela Rowe. She is very experienced as a flag, flex, and tackle football coach. Basically has coached all the levels from the middle school level to the pros. I think obviously not the college level, because it's been around for just a couple years, but she has coached all over for about 2 decades here. I do want to note that she also won defensive MVP for both the U.S. flag and touch football leagues, and so she's bringing in a lot of experience here. Kind of sounds like a defensive minded head coach here, but regardless, still a head coach, and I think a very good head coach to have for a new program to help stabilize things and really get them going here in their first year. And so let's talk about their schedule. It's not things super crazy. I mean, they're playing only KCAC teams starting on March 8th, where they open against Kansas Wesleyan, and then their first home game game is actually against Ottawa on March 18th, 10 days later. And so if you are in the area, make sure you go ahead and support the Threshers out there in their home opener. Both really tough games to start the season, though. But, you know, it's the first year of the program. You got to learn somehow, right? That's just how it goes. You got to learn somehow. You got to get experience. Why not against the two best teams in the KCAC? Some of the best in the entire country, to be honest with you. And so it will be really interesting to see how they start out there. Kansas Wesleyan does have a first-year head coach as well. Ottawa definitely doesn't, though. And so, like I said, it will be really interesting to see how they stack up. And then from there, they'll play all the other KCAC teams twice. And then obviously they'll have their conference tournament. And then eventually, I assume they're going to the national tournament. Let's talk about the roster. They have a very solid 11 players listed on there. I tried to really do my research here, either by looking up on social media, YouTube, Huddle, Google, whatever, about some of the key players. And so one of them that I really want to mention here is Ashley. I apologize ahead of time because I already know I'm going to say this wrong, so please excuse me and, you know, reach out to us so I could say your name right, because I'm sure this is the name I'll be bringing up a lot. But Ashley Joe, I want to say, from Columbus, Georgia here. This linebacker, her senior season that is, had 5 sacks, which led the team, 66 tackles, and 5 interceptions, along with 12 pass deflections. Those picks and pass deflections, she was also the leader of her team in that. And so just sounding like a defensive MVP, being able to rush and then cover as well. So you love to see that. That's never a bad thing. And then in her senior season, won 8-4 with Columbus. They only lost 13-0 to the eventual state champions in Southeast Bullock, I want to say, down in Georgia. And so she was a part of a very good team. And so they'll be getting a very good defensive specialist from that squad. That should really help set the tone and culture for this program, not only this year, but moving forward as well. It's also worth noting that there are other players from Columbus, Georgia as well. You got 2 players actually, in Kyla Rome, who played quarterback and cornerback, and Jaquel Tucker, who plays DB and wide receiver. Now, I don't know if they went to Columbus High as well as Ashley here, but they are from the same area. And also, I didn't say this at the beginning, but head coach Angela Rowe is from Georgia, I believe Atlanta, so there are connections there. So no surprises at all, but it kind of looks like that she's going to really build with those 3 Georgia players here. I mean, those are the players that I found that have the most flag football experience, as Georgia is one of those states that have made it official and whatnot. Now, the other players are athletes that play multiple sports, you know, so it'll be interesting to see how they get integrated in here. And that's not a bad thing at all. You saw what the University of St. Mary was able to do with a bunch of players that haven't played flag football really before, but are great athletes and whatnot. And shout out their former head coach Grace, and she did a really good job working with those athletes and coaching them up to really know the game of football and be a really good team. And so it'll be interesting to see how these other players are integrated in. But you have Jessie McMichael, who is the only other quarterback listed on here. She is on the softball team, I believe, as well. Obviously a pitcher, so there you go there. And then you have 2 soccer players in Victoria Esquivel and Summer Vaughn Fisher, who I'm sure are very good athletes. And so, you know, you got some players to build with here, but like I said, I assume that you're probably going to work with the players from Georgia to really be your core, and then have everyone else complement and fill their roles accordingly. But it'll be really interesting to see who kind of rises up, you know, leads on offense, leads on defense. I think defense, we kind of know who will probably lead on defense, at least, you know, physical ability wise. But on offense, you know, you gotta score to win, right? At least a touchdown. So it will be interesting to see how that goes for them. I'm not as concerned about them as I am probably a little bit on defense. I think on defense they'll be solid. On offense, we'll see who steps up. Usually you have a quarterback, a couple receivers, maybe a nice little center check down option as well. And so that's really exciting for Bethel here. They got a program. They're starting out. They'll be playing teams nearby them. I mean, it's a good basic recipe to start out the season, to start out your program, really. You're not traveling too much, so you don't have to worry about that, as in traveling to the other side of the country to play teams in Florida, or even go to Campbellsville to play teams there. You're focusing on your conference for now, and then obviously I assume they're going to go to the national and their conference tournament here eventually, and so we'll see how they do in the KCAC. Now let's begin to move back out east here and make a stop here in Kentucky and talk about Campbellsville. Like I said, they are based out in Kentucky, the first program that is out there, so that'll obviously help out the likes of Milligan, who are in Tennessee there. But they are a very interesting program here. Let's start with their head coach. So Chris Kidwell will be their first head coach of this women's flag football program. Actually played for the university from 1989 to 92, and then coached at Campbellsville High for around 10 years, and has a lot of experience in administration during that time as well. Also coached in Europe, I believe, at some point, which is really interesting. So a lot of experience for this first year head coach to head this first season of this program. And so let's talk about their schedule. I mean, they play a number of different teams here. They opened the season against Kansas Wesleyan on March 2nd in Tennessee, actually. So they start out on the road, but it's not Kansas Wesleyan's home stadium, obviously. And so that'll be a really interesting neutral site game to watch. And then they go ahead and play a number of KCAC teams, including Kansas Wesleyan, like I said, Midland on March 4th, and Cody College on March 15th. But they also play Sun Conference teams, as they are in the middle there. They play Warner on March 14th, 15th, Thomas March 13th, Weber on April 4th and March 14th, and then St. Thomas on April 4th. And so I know there are some games that I believe they will actually be playing in Kentucky, and then they should be making a trip out to Florida near the end of the season to play those teams there. So love to see that. But on top of that, they are also playing a number of new programs as well. So a really good mix in their schedule, which I absolutely love. But they'll be playing Reinhardt once on March 2nd, another first-year program. And then they'll be playing two JUCOs, or junior colleges, I would say, 2-year programs, in Bryan and Shannon College. They play them actually 3 times, and 2 are in Wisconsin, where the college is. So that's going to be that'll be, golly, they're traveling a lot, but that'll be a lot of traveling and a pretty fun trip, I would imagine. And they also play Florida Gateway, I believe, in Florida, and then they play Milligan 4 times in 3 different states. They play them in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia. So yeah, that's a lot, but obviously you love to see them scheduling all these games, because especially for this first year programs, I mean, you want to continue to expand your pipelines. You want to give high school recruits and prospects a chance to see your team play live in action, see you coach as well, coach live in action. That's never a bad thing, going to all these different states to play football and all that great stuff. Also helps build the game too. It's healthy for the game of women's flag football, I would say, and women's football in general. So there you go, a very good schedule, I would say. I'm a big fan of it. A lot of traveling, which, that is what they scheduled. Obviously, it could always change, but hopefully they do get to play all these teams, because that should be really exciting to cover here. But let's go ahead and talk about the roster here. They have a very good roster, 14 total players. They got 3 Florida players, all from Liberty High School, which shout out Margarita Pena, who I believe made our all Playmaker list last year. That's her alma mater, so there you go. Got a history of good football players from there. Then you have 2 from Georgia, 1 from Tennessee, and 1 from Cali. And then the rest of the roster is actually from Kentucky, which is really interesting because I don't believe Kentucky has women's flag football on the high school level yet, or at least maybe it's not official. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how those players integrate here. But they have plenty of players from Florida and Georgia who should be big time contributors and be the core of your program. Let's go ahead and talk about the Georgia players first. First off, you got Marissa Rankin in her senior year for Northside High School. She, at quarterback, threw for 931 yards and 12 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, while rushing for 176 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So very efficient there. But it will be interesting to see where she plays on the next level. It appears she was used at a couple of spots. And there should be, obviously, a competition for the starting quarterback position, and maybe they roll out 2 quarterbacks and have that kind of be their system, but we'll see what happens there. But definitely a player to keep an eye on there. Obviously found success on the high school level. We'll see what you could do here on the college level. And then on top of that, the other player from Georgia is NAIA Showers here. 75 tackles her senior year for Dodge County when they won state, so she's actually a state champion. Went 15-1 her senior season and was the lead tackler for her squad. That is a really good addition to this defense. First off, you're adding a state champion. You love to have that winning mentality, championship DNA, all that great stuff. And then on top of that, she was the top flag puller, and so you're going to have a consistent player to kind of look at to lead this defense potentially here in Showers. And so there you go, 2 good Georgia players to potentially work with. But let's talk about the Florida prospects, specifically from Liberty High School. Let's start with Yaneli Quiros. Like I said, if I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize. Please reach out to us, or me personally, whatever, and let me know how to say that, because I want to make sure I say that right when I am covering y'all this season. But she looked to be the primary quarterback for Liberty back in high school. She was a 4-year starter for that squad, both on offense and defense. She is a defensive back as well. But from watching her film, which, by the way, shout out Liberty High School and their YouTube channel. I really love that they put together a good film on prospects that wanted to play on the next level, and it's available on their YouTube channel, and it's very well put together with stats and all that great stuff. Really love seeing that. That is good stuff. So shout out Liberty there. But after taking a look at her little highlight reel there, it's obvious she's a smart football player. Sounds like she's going to play very within her, or looks like she's going to play very within herself, not do too much, keep the chains moving. That's what matters. But it will be interesting to see where she plays on this level. She also played DB as well, and was moved around quite a bit, I would say, on defense. So there you go. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out, if she could potentially win this quarterback job or be a person that, plays quarterback. But I do want to also mention that she's a very agile player, very quick in short spaces. Maybe not the best top end speed, but very quick, could definitely make players miss, and like I said, move those chains, which is important here. But what is also important is chemistry, and she has that with the 2 other players who I believe are sisters, I want to say here. If I'm mistaken, like I said, reach out, but they both have the same last name here, and that is Angeline and Annalise Beecher. Let me talk about Angeline here. So first things first, it's interesting. So on her highlight reel, she's listed at 6'2", and I could probably believe that she is very tall, but on the college website, she's listed at 6 foot. So that's interesting. One of them has to be wrong, obviously, because she looks really tall here. But, regardless, she is listed at 6 foot as a DB wide receiver, and I believe right now she is the tallest player in women's flag football here on the collegiate level. Listed at 6 foot, but also has just a great wingspan as well. She has really long arms, which helps out her catch radius, but she's a very imposing athlete, I would imagine. And just watching her film, she is an absolute beast of a player. Great jump ball receiver. Her catch radius is just simply unmatched. I mean, look, this is a player that's going to go ahead, make catches through contact. You know, it doesn't matter how close you are covering her. If it's a good ball and it's put just outside, she has long enough arms to just go ahead and reach that. Makes a lot of great hands catches, I would say as well. Just a great catch radius. I mean, just throw it her way and she's going to come down with the football because she's just going to be physically better and stronger than some of these other athletes, you know. Looking around the collegiate world here, the world of women's college flag football, you know, you have Kennedy Foster, who's 5'11". I know Ottawa has a player in Tatiana Dos Santos who's listed at 5'11", but I don't think either of those players are taller than Angeline here, and so that is tough. You'll love to see that. She's going to be really fun to watch, but she just made plays, you know, just being physically stronger and bigger and taller than all these other players. That is going to be big time, and you know, she will obviously push for a spot on our all-freshman list at the end of the season, or I would imagine she would. So we'll see about that, but just a great pass catcher to be adding on here. On top of that, she actually moves really well laterally and has pretty good top end speed. Like, she could get out there and burn some players, just big long strides, which you absolutely love. Just a very smooth runner, I would say, very good athlete. And so not only is she tall, but she can move extremely well, and so that's gonna be a mismatch for sure. She should definitely be an issue on the next level. Imagine she's gonna play probably DB and wide receiver, but I mean, I'm just saying, if you're in the red zone and you don't know what to call, I would say a fade route is not the bad thing. Who's gonna stop her, right? So we'll see. That will be really fun to watch. I'm so excited to watch her play football over there, and so that should be big time. But I do want to shout out Annalise here as well. She's actually the second tallest player on the team, listed at 5'9", but just an all-around great athlete. Played quarterback, wide receiver, safety, corner for Liberty back in high school here. I mean, she is a very good athlete. I would say she has a very good ball skills like her sister. Obviously doesn't have the wingspan or the catch radius quite like her, but, you know, very good hands, very reliable hands. And even though she's not as tall, I would say she has really good speed and agility to make up for it. Definitely somebody who could be a chain mover, really work in between those hashes there, you know, on those drags and short routes and make something happen after the catch. And so I really am excited to see this duo here. But on top of that, I'm excited to see them on offense, but on top of that, I'm excited to see them on defense as well, as she's a very good contributor there. I mean, there were a number of plays on her reel where she just reads the play and forces the turnover. Like, she's not waiting for the ball to come to her. She's not waiting for the other team to make a mistake, really. I mean, she really is aggressive and jumps those routes and has excellent ball skills. Like I said, can't emphasize that enough. And then she has the speed to return it to the house as well, and so she's going to be a real tough defender to have there. I mean, a taller DB that moves extremely well and could play man, could play zone, play person to person, I mean, and just do her thing, lock down her side of the field. You know, you don't come around that every day, and so should be a big part of the team regardless of the position she plays. And so really excited about this Campbellsville team. I think they have a really good core. I'm excited to see Angeline and Annalise Beecher play. I'm excited to see the Georgia players play, Yaneli as well. I mean, I think this is a squad that has a really good group of experienced flag football players from high school, and then now you add on some good athletes from Kentucky here, who they could help mentor and coach and all that great stuff. I think you got a pretty good recipe to have a very successful season here, as they will be playing a lot of teams. So let's talk storylines, I guess. I mean, storylines for all of these first-year programs. How good can they be in their first year? Right? Is this a program that could reach Thomas levels of success, as in go to the national championships year one? In my opinion, no, because Thomas was extremely stacked. They were like 10, 15 deep, it felt, with like all conference, all state players from Florida. So they were extremely tough. Plus, they had a head coach who also coached women's flag football for a long time and went to a couple of state championships, which is something that this coach obviously hasn't done, being from Campbellsville here. And so there are some questions there, but they should have a good season. It will be interesting to see how they fare against some teams, how some of these players from Kentucky do. I'm really interested to see if which ones of these players from Kentucky could really turn up and be a star for the squad. So that's something to definitely look out for. And on top of that, the travel. Will the travel be too much? It is a lot. I think they are probably the program that's going to be traveling the most out of anybody in the entire country. And so we'll see how that goes, how well they do on the road, how well they play at home. All of that great stuff. A lot of questions here, but definitely a lot of excitement for a program that, has some really good players for this squad. So we'll see what happens for them. All right, now let's talk about the last program here in Reinhardt University out in Georgia. Coached by head coach Tony Fuller, a 16-year playing career where she's basically playing football year-round. She would play flag football and then switch to tackle there just so that she would basically stay ready, year-round. And so a lot of experience here. Most recently, by the way, played for the Alabama Fire in the WNFC, earning All-Pro honors as a linebacker in 2021. So just throwing that out there. On top of that, also won gold as a member of that 2017 IFAF tackle team. IFAF, that's International Federation of American Football, I want to say. So there you go. They play teams from all over the world. And then she also was the first woman to coach football at the Cobb County School District in 2019 and 2020 as a running backs coach, I believe. And as of right now is actually also pursuing a doctorate's degree. I want to say it's philosophy, more specifically counselor education. So good for her. A very smart person in general, player / coach who's been around the game for a really long time. She knows what it takes to succeed, both on the field and off the field, I would say, as well. So I really admire that. And so, honestly, just a great coach to have in general. First year coach for a first year program. Really love this fit and hire here for Reinhardt. Now let's go ahead and talk about their schedule. So they actually open against Milligan, I believe, at home on February 23rd. They'll also play the March 2nd in Tennessee. So at the time this episode comes out, they'll be playing them here in a couple days, I believe. So that should be really exciting. Now let's talk about the teams they'll play multiple times. So outside of Milligan, they'll play them multiple times, obviously, but they'll also play St. Thomas and Campbellsville more than once this season. And then they will play an in-state team, the only other team in Georgia, in Thomas. That'll be at Campbellsville. And so that'll be the first matchup between two Georgia college flag teams here. So that'll be really fun to watch there. And then they'll also play contenders here in Ottawa and Keiser. Play Ottawa April 8th, and then Keiser is April 1st. So a pretty good mix of teams they are playing here. Outside of Ottawa, there are no KCAC teams, but if you're gonna play one, Ottawa might as well be that one. They'll also play teams like Warner, Florida Memorial as well. I don't believe they are actually in the Sun Conference, but obviously they're close enough to Florida to go ahead and play those teams. So a very mixed schedule here, which I am a pretty big fan of, just being able to see them play a number of teams. I am going to throw this out there. Power rankings are not everything, but if they were to move up, I'm looking at some of these key matchups here. Ottawa, Keiser, Thomas, Jesus. Those are all the national contenders. I just realized that's tough. Getting a win against one of those would obviously be huge, especially Thomas, because you'll be competing for recruits with Thomas in that state. So that's going to obviously be a big game there. And then, you have St. Thomas, you have all the Florida teams as well, who you will be competing for recruits as well. So, a lot of really good games scheduled here. Really excited for that. Love that they're also playing a first-year program in Campbellsville a couple of times, which I think will be a really fun matchup. Love the Milligan matchup as well. So, some very interesting games. But let's go ahead and talk about their roster. They have a very healthy roster of 18 players, with only 2 of them from Florida, technically. One of them is Talia Williams from Somerset Academy. And then I would consider her from Florida. I think originally she's from Georgia, though, in Amani Lindsay. She's actually transferring from St. Thomas. I forgot to mention that. But that'll be a big-time add-on. A player who has seen, a very good, successful program, and could contribute some of that to this culture here in Reinhardt, back home in Georgia. So that'll be really interesting to see what those two could contribute to this team. And then they also have one player from Panama. That Panama flag football team, when they won it all at the Pro Bowl last year, that was big time. All of those players are basically recruited to some of the best in the country. And so for Reinhardt to get one of those players is absolutely huge. And that is Adriana Brustmeyer. Like I said, coming from Panama with that elite squad that won it all, she'll be bringing some really good experience. Never could go wrong with players from Panama, to be honest with you. So really love to see an international player on this list. Now, the 2 other players I do want to highlight here mostly, just because I'm not going to go down the line and talk about every single player. I'll talk about them as they make plays this season, though. But I want to highlight Ashlyn McKinley and Joelle Jarrett. Those were actually 2 players that we broke down the film of on episode 152 last year. And so if you want to see more, information about them, go ahead and check out that episode. I'll basically give you the brass tacks of it. Ashlyn McKinley, quarterback here, good dual threat, could run with the football, is really agile, has shown that she has a pretty solid arm and whatnot, make really good throws. Just a little bit raw, but I think with another year of working, and this is only like her 3rd year of flag football as well, I think she could be a really good starter for this team moving forward, potentially. So we will see what happens. Also want to throw out there, great GPA, great leader, and all that stuff. All great things about Ashlyn McKinley here that'll add to this program. And then you got Joelle Jarrett, who has a very elite ball skills, really impressed by what I saw on film there. Made a ton of interceptions. I think she's listed as a DB for Reinhardt here, so that'll be really fun here. My only downside was that I couldn't find a lot of offensive film, because I think she would be really good on offense as well. But you know what? It is what it is. She's a great athlete regardless, with really good hands. She's for sure going to play on defense, and I think she's going to be an elite DB for that squad, to be honest with you. But we'll see if maybe she pulls a Dion and maybe plays on the other side as well. But definitely both players that if you want to check out that episode, go ahead, and I talk about them more in depth there. And then I do want to shout out Janiyah Williams and Tatiana Alacock from Grayson High School, which is the same high school that Ashlyn McKinley is coming from. Just keep that in mind. They're coming from a squad that won 10-4 their senior year, and so had a really good year that year for them. So those 3 players will be coming to Reinhardt here and bringing in some really good experience. And so honestly, I am pretty high on Reinhardt. I like the players that they're bringing in. They're bringing in a lot of experience. I love the Adriana Brustmeyer addition from Panama. I love that they're recruiting a lot from Georgia here, getting Amani Lindsay to, transfer from St. Thomas back home. That'll be big. And so it'll be really interesting to see how well they do. They play a pretty strong schedule. I think they are potentially the only team in the country that will be playing 4 or 5 teams from the top 5. I don't know if anybody else in the country is going to be playing that many top 5 teams, as many top 5 teams as them. And so it's going to be tough. It's going to definitely be a trial by fire, but they're also playing some newer programs, some programs that struggled last year, to really gain some confidence and get things going and, oil that machine here as they go on and get better. And so just really interesting to see how they stack up, not only with the newer programs, but with the best in the country. And I think we're going to get that answer a lot sooner than later compared to the rest of these other programs, to be completely fair and honest with you. And that's fun, that's going to be really fun to watch just to see where they're at, and, they're a first year program, so I wouldn't say there's a lot of pressure on them to be great automatically. But, if you could steal some wins here and there, really get some momentum going by the time you get into the national tournament, because I don't believe they will be in a conference tournament here. Campbellsville won't either, I believe, because they're not in a major conference that has multiple women's flag football programs. That'll be big. If they could really get going before that national tournament, get some momentum, that'll be big, especially considering that they don't have a conference tournament. So just keep that in mind, not only for them, but for Campbellsville as well. But should be a fun program. Really love their head coach. I really respect what she's done for the game, and I really like this roster as well. We'll see what Georgia football can do once more. All right, but there you go. Those are all the season previews there. Before I talk about this first game of the 2021 season, there were a number of other programs that I looked into, but I don't believe are NAIA programs. Just shouting out Atlantis, Fort Lauderdale, and all that. And then obviously you have your JUCOs as well. I'll probably still talk about them. I still will review them if I am able to watch those streams or see articles, and I could relay that information on how those games go. So there you go. But let's go ahead and talk about the season opener, not only in the Sun Conference, but in the entire country here. February 15th, 2023, we got St. Thomas versus Warner to kick this thing off. Two really good programs from the Sun Conference here. Let's go ahead and talk about this game. Let's recap this game. So to start here, St. Thomas would actually have the ball here to start this game. But, still some rust here that they're trying to shake off here. They actually go 3 and out. There's about 8 minutes, 55 seconds left here in the first quarter. And so Warner takes over. And on the first play of the game, they want to get a big gain here. And so Madison Tingen drops back, throws it deep. But it is honestly just a bad decision, a bad mistake, as it was in double coverage. I believe this is to Cynthia Holmes here. And Tashumba Washington gets her first interception of the season already, the first pick of the entire season here, and gets them just across midfield with about 8 minutes 48 seconds left here, already showing that if you're gonna throw it, we're gonna make you pay. You really can't throw her away there. And like I said, some rust that you're shaking off and whatnot, they're not, both teams aren't exactly in mid-season form right now, but there are just some things that you got to learn. And so that is a learning opportunity there. And Tashumba Washington getting a big first play here to go ahead and get St. Thomas the ball just like that. And so here we go on first down. Julianne Yolkowski at quarterback goes ahead and takes a deep shot to Tyler Bryant, who is in 1v1 here. It actually looks like Bryant here gets a step, but the ball is definitely a little bit underthrown here and is broken up by freshman number 23, Anna Vincentini, I want to say. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong. By the way, from another player from Panama who had a big impact on this game. But she goes ahead and breaks this one up. Honestly, she almost intercepts this one because that's how underthrown this ball was. So like I said, still trying to shake off some of that rust here. But no worries here. Jada Graham, who by the way played quarterback 2 years ago, has now switched to wide receiver DB, is about a year removed from her knee injury recovery, so she is back healthy for this season. She goes ahead and catches a nice ball on the curl route, making it a very manageable 3rd and 3. And so on 3rd down, Jules Yolkowski, she feels the pressure. She goes ahead and dumps it off to her check down here, who unfortunately just drops it. It just looks like a concentration drop, to be honest with you. And so that brings up 4th and 4, and they are going for it because they are already basically past midfield, just a couple yards past midfield here. But unfortunately, there's a high snap. It hits the ground. There's no fumbles in flag football. That's a dead ball. So Warner takes over just like that. The interception didn't quite kill them as much there. And so here we go. 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Madison Tingen tries to hit this little deep dig route here. It's almost picked, but it ends up just being deflected. Really good defense by St. Thomas here to start out, but doesn't matter. She goes ahead and hits Anna Vincenzini on this little curl route that gives them a first down and also gets them past midfield, gets them going here. A couple plays later, she would eventually find Amari Logan for a first down that would go ahead and put Warner in the red zone for the first time this game and this season. But unfortunately, another couple plays later, a low pass to Andrea Castillo brings up 3rd and 15. And so on 3rd down, Madison Tingen, she takes a shot into the red zone down the left sideline, but it is slightly overthrown. On top of that, it was well covered too, so she would have had to throw an absolutely perfect pass to even fit it in. So there you go. And so there you go. That was 3rd down. It's now 4th down in the red zone. They're trying to get a score here. They go ahead and they call, it looks like a similar route concept on the other side here. And so Tingen throws it down the right sideline, but it is thrown out the back of the end zone, just a little overthrown here. Very well covered, and so St. Thomas takes over, playing good defense here, by the way, so far. And so here we go. Julianne Yolkowski, she passes it to Kayla Alvarez on a nice little out route, who then pitches it to Tyler Bryant, who goes ahead and picks up the first down on play 1 of this drive. After that, Yolkowski, she finds Jada Graham over the middle on a nice little dig route, making it a pretty manageable 2nd and 3. And then right before the quarter ends, Yolkowski drops back, finds Kaylee Miller, sidearms this little throw over the middle. I like to see that. Nice little throw here. And finds Miller over the middle for a first down as they go ahead and pass midfield as the quarter ends. And so here we go, second quarter. They go ahead and sub Jada Graham here at quarterback. Like I said, she played a little bit of quarterback in the first year of this program. But they go ahead, put her in quarterback. She runs a quarterback keeper up the middle, gets a couple yards. It's 2nd and 5. She stays in. They run a power option here. She would pitch it to a running back, Fairdes. That would bring up 3rd and 3, so pretty manageable. But they go ahead and put Yolkowski back in here on 3rd down. And here on 3rd down, Warner brings the heat. But Yolkowski plays it well. Under pressure, cool, calm, collected, evades the rusher and runs up the middle. But Warner, playing really good defense and having really good flag pulling, pulls her flag actually a little bit short of the line of scrimmage, and so she is stopped for a loss, bringing up a 4th and 5 here. Now they are across the midfield. They're about on the edges of the red zone, so just keep that in mind here. And so Yolkowski drops back here on 4th and 5, tries to check it down to Kayla Alvarez, but it is deflected. A great play by Amari Logan, who saw this a little early, jumps it and gets Warner the football back. And so here we go. There's 9 minutes, 37 seconds left, just about in the second quarter. Tingen has 2 straight incompletions that bring up 3rd and 16. Just not super accurate passes there, but she eventually finds Jenna Marrero on a short little out route that makes it a bit more manageable, a 4th and 10 situation, which they have already decided they are going for. And so here we go. It's 4th and 10. Madison Tingen gets St. Thomas to jump off sides with the hard count, making it a nice 4th and 5 situation here. And so here we go. It's 4th and 5, pretty manageable. Madison Tingen drops back, aims for an out route, but a St. Thomas defender, I believe it's Jada Graham, jumps this route and gets a great deflection getting the ball back. High key, it was really almost pick six right there, but it wasn't, and it was deflected, and so St. Thomas takes over just a little bit past midfield with about 7:30 left. First down, it's an incompletion. Second down, Yolkowski is forced out the pocket. She has to throw a tough ball. Warner plays great defense, and they force an incompletion there. And so here we go. It's third down. Yolkowski, once again, under pressure, goes to Tyler Bryant, throwing a great ball, but unfortunately, it is just dropped. And so that brings up fourth down, and St. Thomas, they're forced to punt. So a 3-and-out there. And so here we go. 6 minutes. Warner, they're trying to get something going here. Madison Tingen, she finds Amari Logan on a quick hitter play here, making it 2nd and 15. After that, Tingen goes back to Logan on the curl route, which was really close, but Tingen gets it there on time, and Logan gets free and goes ahead and gets the first down before her flag is pulled. So love to see that. The chains are moving here. And then Holmes would actually get her first reception here on a curl route for about 10 yards, making it 2nd and 7. Like I said, her first reception in this game here in the second quarter, midway through the second quarter here. She has been targeted, but they are definitely playing really good defense on her and not allowing her to get any big plays. But she gets a nice 10-yard play, making it 2nd and 7. After that, Tingen pump fakes, then tries to scramble, gets about 2 yards, so it's 3rd and 5. They're about near midfield at this point here. So there you go. And so here we go, 3rd and 5, Tingen. She goes ahead and goes back to Amari Logan, number 24, by the way, on the curl route. But Jada Graham just plays really aggressive defense here, and they call her for a penalty. I believe it's either pass interference or holding. No matter what, though, Warner gets a first down, and so they go past midfield. So kind of tough there if you are Jada Graham, but I like the aggressiveness. And so here we go. After that first down penalty, and they are past midfield, Tingen takes a shot downfield, but Jada Graham makes her pay and gets a huge interception. But unfortunately, they call roughing the passer on St. Thomas's rusher, Leon, here. And so Warner gets a little bit of a break because that felt like a backbreaker there with that interception. And so instead of an interception, that penalty actually puts Warner in the red zone now. So a big change of events, but regardless, Warner, they are back in the red zone. And so here's how it goes down. Tingen throws a quick out route to Vincencini here for a gain of about 10 yards right before the 2-minute warning. By the way, that goes for a first down. And so here we go, fresh set of downs. Oh, so I believe I misspoke. Sorry, they were on the edge of the red zone, and then that out route got them into the red zone. So there you go. But a fresh set of downs in the red zone. It's a first down. Tingen, she finds Cynthia Holmes over the middle, goes for a minimum gain. Really good flag pulling by St. Thomas here. And then after that, Tingen once again throws over the middle. It looks like the receiver gets her hands on the football. She's about to land and establish possession, but really good defense by freshman Dominique Parks, who gets her hand in there and aggressively rips that one away, forcing an incompletion. That's an excellent break up there. I really want to give that a little bit of a spotlight there, because it really looked like it was about to be an easy touchdown, but love how Parks goes ahead and fights through it, and makes it an incompletion. So there you go there. But now it is 3rd and goal here. On 3rd down, Tingen goes ahead and it looks like those maybe a fade route, maybe it's an out route to Amari Logan. Doesn't matter. Jada Graham is there, and she plays really good defense, and so that makes it 4th down after that incompletion. And so Warner, they go ahead and take a timeout. By the way, there's about 1:25 here before this 4th down play. And so here we go, 4th down. Warner in the red zone for the second time goes ahead and drops back Madison Tingen, who throws an accurate, just a dot here, low pass to number 43. That's Andrea Castillo for her first career receiving touchdown, by the way. But regardless, the first touchdown of this 2023 campaign brings in a tough one through really good coverage here to get them on the board. And then on the extra point, Tingen pump fakes, finds Logan over the middle on a diving pass, making it 7-0 with 1:21 left here in this second quarter and first half. And so here we go. We have St. Thomas. They're trying to move down the field. They do get a first down here where Yolkowski finds her running back, I believe, Fernandez over the middle. So there you go. But there's about 28 seconds left. But then Yolkowski finds number 12, Keely Miller, on a nice little deep shot down the right sideline for a first down pass midfield. That goes for about 20 yards or so. But eventually, they have to throw it up on a Hail Mary. Number 24 for Warner, Amari Logan, closes in on this ball, intercepts it, sends this game into halftime. By the way, that is her first career interception as well. So there you go. 7-0 Warner going into halftime over St. Thomas. Okay, and so here in the third quarter, Warner starts with the ball here. Tingen does find a couple receivers here for a short gain. Specifically, she found Trinity Kieran on a drag route, who got a nice gain of about 10 or so yards, maybe a little bit more, and a first down to really get this thing going here. But eventually, a couple plays later, it is third and long. It's been all incompletions leading up to this play here. And so here we go on third down. She throws the curl route to Amari Logan, who gets a nice 5 or 10 yards, making it a more manageable 4th and 4 here close to midfield. And so here we go. Warner decides to go for it. Tingen throws it over the middle, and it looks like number 10, Mayerly Kayon, I want to say, intercepts it for St. Thomas. But instead, it's dropped and it's broken up. Still, though, it's St. Thomas ball with 8:43 left in the third quarter. All right, so here in the third, Julianne Yolkowski finds Tyler Bryant on a nice curl route, who goes ahead and gets a nice 10 or so yards, making it 2nd and 8. Then it's third down after great pressure from this Warner defense. But right before they are able to run a play on third down, they do get Warner to jump off sides with the count, so it makes it a more manageable 3rd and 3. And so here we go, 3rd and 3, Julianne Yolkowski drops back and finds Jada Graham on the slant, who, by the way, makes a really nice snag. The ball was a little bit behind her, but she makes a nice snag and gets enough yardage to go ahead and not only get them the first down, but put them in the red zone. So here we go. In the red zone, Jules, she finds number 0, Maya Salas, on the check down over the middle, who goes ahead and makes somebody miss and gets a nice 5 or so yards here, moving the ball and the chain. Well, not the chains, but moving the ball here. And then Jules then finds number 12, Kaylee Miller, for a nice 5-yard gain, making it a more manageable 3rd and 2. And then to go ahead and end the drive, Julianne Yolkowski finds Jada Graham on a nice little drag route, and Graham goes ahead and dives for the end zone here for the first STU touchdown of the season, making it 7-6. Now, Yolkowski tries to find Tyler Bryant, but number 23, Vincencini, on the extra point, makes a great deflection and allows Warner to keep the 7-6 lead and not have St. Thomas tie it up. And so here we go. It is Warner football here. And a couple plays later, it is basically third down. And Tingen, she's trying to run around, and I think she's doing a little bit too much here and throws a bit of an ill-advised throw almost directly to Jada Graham, who drops a potential pick 6. But regardless, Warner is forced to punt it, going 3 and out. Jada Graham was really big time on this drive here. Almost got a deflection on every play on this drive. So there you go. St. Thomas gets the ball back here right before the third quarter, and here's how it goes down. First things first, Deshaun Washington gets them a nice return that does get them past midfield to start right before the fourth quarter. And so here we go. Here's what happens. Yolkowski checks down to Salas, who gets maybe about a yard or two. Still, though, it's second down. It wasn't a loss. After that, Yulkowski finds Tyler Bryant on a nice curl route. That gets them a couple more yards, maybe 4 or 5. And so here we go. It's like 3rd and long, and that's when Yulkowski finds Tiffany Walker on a quick hitter curl route, who then gets them another 5 yards to end the 3rd quarter. And so going into the 4th quarter, St. Thomas has the ball. It's 4th down. They're kind of on the edge of the red zone, and so they go ahead and decide to go for it here. But unfortunately, they go ahead and they calls a false start on St. Thomas, which makes this a lot longer than it needs to be. But regardless, St. Thomas decides to go for it, and here is what happens. Yulkowski drops back. She sees Tyler Bryant in 1-on-1, running deep on a nice little vertical route, and she has a step, throws it, but this ball is maybe an inch overthrown, just out of the reach of Tyler Bryant, who probably would have scored if she was able to get her hands on it. And so that's a turnover on downs here. And so here we go. Warner has the ball. They do have the lead as well, but not exactly a comfortable lead. They're only leading by 1. So ideally, they want to score at least one more time to potentially win this. And so here's what happens. They go ahead and throw it to Cynthia Holmes, who makes a nice sideline catch and gets them a 1st down crossing midfield. That went for about 10 or 15 or so. After that, Tingen throws it to the flat to Jenna Marrero, who goes ahead and makes a couple people miss and gets a nice 10 yards here. A nice gain, bringing up a good 2nd down. And then here on 2nd down, it looks like a QB designed run for Tingen, but she is dropped by NAIA Leon, who goes ahead and stops her for a loss. And so it's now 3rd down here. And on 3rd down, Tingen throws it to Marrero, who's in the flat, by the way, who's also played quarterback, and Marrero launches it deep to Anna Vincenzini, but Tashumba Washington is there to make a play, makes a great pass deflection, bringing up 4th down here. Very clean pass deflection, by the way. And so here we go, 4th down. They call something pretty similar here. Tingen has it, then she passes it to Marrero, who then tries to throw it, or tries to run and then throw it, but the ball is low and hits the ground. And so just like that, St. Thomas takes over, avoiding Warner from, getting a bigger lead here. And so here we go. Plenty of time left, 8 minutes, 17 seconds. After the drop pass, it is 2nd down, and on 2nd down, Yulkowski finds Salas in the flats, who gets a nice gain here of about 7 yards, making it a good 3rd and 4 situation. Then she goes ahead and goes back to Kaylee Miller on an inside curl route that gives them the 1st down and also puts them past midfield here. So here we go. STU is moving. Yulkowski once again then finds Bryant for a gain of 5 on the curl. After that, Yulkowski is blitzed by 2 Warner players and gets it out fast deep to Miller here. Tries to take a shot, but it is slightly overthrown once again, so it's 3rd and 15. Really good pressure by Warner here, forcing this throw early. And so here we go. Julianne Yulkowski tries to hit Tyler Bryant on the drag route, but it is late, and it's also kind of thrown behind her as well. And so that makes it 4th down. Yulkowski drops back, tries to hit Kaylee Miller on the out route, but Warner comes up and pulls the flag just a little bit short here, and that forces a turnover on downs. And so here we go. Warner once again, plenty of time to ice this game, continue to put this one away here. There's about 4 minutes, 8 seconds left, and here's what happened. Tingen finds Vincenzini on the curl route for a nice 10-yard gain. After that, she takes a shot deep on 2nd down, trying to go for, the dagger or the home run ball here. But Tashumba Washington wins this 1v1 matchup and soars skies for a big-time interception, her 2nd of the day, to kill this Warner drive and give St. Thomas another opportunity to take the lead here. And so here's what happens. There's about 3 minutes, 18 seconds left. Yulkowski finds Jada Graham in the flat, who sprints for a nice gain, making it 2nd and 10. She gets about 10 yards. After that, Yolkowski feels the pressure, checks it down to Maya Salas, who goes ahead and makes a player miss with a nice little dip move, and then gets the first down past midfield. And then right before they run the play on that first down, there's a 2-minute warning here. And so out of the 2-minute warning, Julian Yolkowski rolls out right and launches a bomb to Jada Graham, who has a step and catches this one in stride for a big time reception, almost scores here, but is marked just short here as her flag was pulled. And so now, just like that, St. Thomas is in the red zone after that huge play. And then here's what happens. Yolkowski checks it to Salas with the pressure in her face, by the way, who still catches it, gains a short gain of yards, not losing any yards on that play. And then on second down, Yolkowski finds Salas again, but this time on the out route. This goes for a nice solid gain. And so here we go. It's third down with about, I would say, 58 seconds left here. They go ahead and call a timeout before this play. And so here is what happened. Yolkowski drops back, and then she finds Kaylee Miller on the drag route, really threads the needle, throws a dot to the end zone, and that allows St. Thomas to take the 12-7 lead here. And so just like that, St. Thomas takes the lead, makes the comeback here with just under a minute left. And then on the extra point, St. Thomas does try to go for two, but it's overthrown. It looks like it was a fade route here to Tyler Bryant. But regardless, they still have the 12-7 lead with about 56 seconds left. And so Warner trying to win this game here. They go ahead and have Tingen throw the drag route to Trinity Kieran, who gets a minimum amount of yardage. And at this point, they are going no huddle. After that, Tingen then throws the out route to Amari Logan, who gets out of bounds, which stops the clock. And that also goes for a first down. There's about 33 seconds left. After that, Tingen rolls out left, throws it to Trinity Kieran. And unfortunately, this one is dropped, so the clock stops once again. 27 seconds left. Then Tingen finds Cynthia Holmes, who goes ahead and gets a nice 5-yard gain on the curl route before stepping out of bounds. And then a timeout is taken before this third down opportunity here. And so here on third down, Tingen, she then feels pressure and is forced left here and throws it. The ball is slightly high on this throw, and I believe it's over the middle, but the receiver ultimately drops it. She got her hands on it, so another drop there. And so now it is fourth down here. On fourth down, Tingen then takes a shot downfield, but Washington is there, and she almost intercepts it, but she decides to just bat it down, and that will be the end of this game. St. Thomas coming back and winning a gritty game here against Warner, 12-7. I do want to shout out Jada Graham and Tashumba Washington. I would say those are the players of the game in this one. Jada Graham, I had to have been the lead receiver, and she also had that first touchdown. And then Tashumba Washington, 2 interceptions in this game to start out another great campaign here as St. Thomas starts out 1-0 after this one. All right, now let's talk about the other game on this day. We got Florida Memorial versus Keiser, and Florida Memorial will start with the ball here. Haley Stanton, the transfer from Midland, here in at quarterback. Here's how it goes down. Second down, she checks down to Kayla McDuffie, who does get them a first down, making some people miss. After that, Stanton finds Erica Johnson twice on 2 quick hitter hitch routes. That gets them a couple yards. Then she makes a lot of players miss, and that would get them a first down past midfield on that second hitch route throw. So there you go. After that, Stanton checks down to McDuffie again, who makes a couple people miss on the nice gain for about 7 or 8. After that, Stanton throws to Lonisha Howell, who then attempts the double pass, but unfortunately this pass goes out of bounds, so it's third down here. Here on third down, Stanton then finds Ronisha Gibbs on the comeback route for a solid gain, but it is fourth down here. They're right on the edge of the red zone, not quite there yet, but they are approaching it. And so here on fourth down, they go for it. Stanton tries to hit the post route, but it's a little bit too high, and so that is a turnover on downs, and Keiser takes over with 6:55 left in the game. or well, left in the first quarter, excuse me there. But anyways, here Keiser on the first play. Roden tries to go deep to Chloe Griffin, but she is not quite able to bring in this pass, so it's an incompletion. Second down, Roden scrambles here, but her flag is pulled quickly, just at about the line of scrimmage by Deja Fanning, and so now it is third down. Roden on third down goes deep and finds Kennedy Foster, who's in one-on-one up the seam for a huge 20-yard-ish gain for the first down across midfield. So love seeing that connection per usual, looking strong once again this year. After that, Roden then rolls out right and makes a beautiful throw here to Marissa Rubino, who catches a good ball on the sideline to put them in the red zone. And just like that, they are in the red zone with a fresh set of downs. That play went for about 20, but then right after that, Roden on fire finds some Rubino on the drag route, who walks it in for a touchdown, and Keiser gets a really fast 6-0 lead here. Now, Roden on the extra point tries to loft it up to Kennedy Foster, but it is slightly overthrown here. But they do call a hold on Florida Memorial, so that gives Keiser another chance. And so on this chance, Roden then finds Kennedy Foster on the drag route, who goes ahead and walks it in. And so Keiser now leads 7-0 with about 3 minutes left here in the first quarter. Now on this next drive, Keiser plays really good defense. On first down, they go ahead and cover a screen call here. It was incomplete, but they covered it really well. It's better that it was incomplete anyways, to be honest. Then on second down, they go ahead and bring the pressure and sack Haley Stanton, who was sacked just a half second too slow getting the ball out there. So there you go, just like that, it's third down. And then on third down, Keiser, just with really good coverage, forces Stanton to take the check down as they do bring the pressure, which, you know, they would go ahead and bring that player down, and that would basically force a 3-and-out and a punt here. And so there you go. Keiser takes over back on offense with about a minute left here in the quarter. Kennedy Foster gets a nice return that does get them past midfield, but a penalty thrown on Keiser would put them just maybe like a yard behind it. So that's what happened going into the second quarter here. And here in the second quarter, Jasmine Roden, being aggressive, takes a deep shot here to the freshman Sofia Caprio, but this pass is broken up here. But unfortunately, at least for FMU, they call a holding penalty on FMU, which goes ahead and moves Keiser up here a couple yards. It's still second down though, and so on second down, Roden then finds Kennedy Foster on a nice out route, who goes and gets the first down, which would go ahead and put them in the red zone for the second time today. On first down, Roden then finds Adriana Rodriguez on the drag route, who gets a nice big chunk play off of, honestly, just bad flag pulling on this play. Gets about 15 yards or so. And then on second down here, Roden throws it to Rubino, or tries to, but it is well covered, and it's also overthrown. Good pressure by Deja Fanning and Florida Memorial. So now it's third down here. Third down, Roden feels the pressure, checks down, and throws it over the middle here to Adriana Rodriguez for a big-time touchdown. And just like that, Keiser now leads 13-0. And then during the extra point here, Roden does really well against the pressure and throws a great ball to the corner for a conversion here, making it a quick 14-0 lead. Just like that. Now FMU, they get back on the field after the 3-and-out, trying to get something going here before this game gets a little out of hand. And so here's what happens. Stanton checks down to McDuffie, who gets 10 yards. That brings up second down. After that, Stanton is immediately blitzed, but she runs it up the middle and gets them a first down. Good reaction there to extend this drive. After that, she then throws the out route to Gibbs, who gets them a nice gain of 7 yards. And then on the following play, they call it looks like an RPO, and they try to take a shot, but it is deflected. It's really almost intercepted, but incomplete either way. So now it's third down here. On third down, Haley Stanton finds Ronisha Gibbs on a beautiful throw on what looks like to be a corner route here, on time, on the money, and that would go ahead and give them a first down and past midfield on a nice 15-plus yard gain. So a really good throw on that one to extend this drive. After that, Stanton feels the pressure, checks it down to McDuffie, who goes ahead and gets a nice 10 or so yards. Following that, there's another check down that gets them a couple more yards, but it is third and short. And so here on third down, Emma Wagenman on the rush goes ahead and gets a big-time sack here for Keiser. That brings up fourth down here, and FMU actually decides to punt it here, even though they were kind of on the edge of the red zone once more, not quite being able to get into the red zone and hopefully score here. And so Keiser gets the ball back with a minute 52 with a chance to go ahead and extend this lead. And so here's what happened. Jasmine Roden rolls out right, but is feeling the pressure from Deja. She throws it deep towards the right sideline, but it does end up being out of bounds. Second down here for Keiser. Roden takes a shot over the middle. Looks like a little bit of a post route here by Kennedy Foster, but Ty Miluz Santos goes ahead and gets a pretty big deflection here to go ahead and force a third down. So here we go, third down. FMU brings some pressure here. Deja Fanning is trying to get after Roden, but she checks it down to Emma Wageman, who's just barely able to get the first down and extend this drive. Right after that, here on first down, Roden feels the pressure again from Deja Fanning, tries to shuffle past this one, but it is incomplete. So that brings up second down. Really good pressure by FMU, by the way, here in this game. Anyway, second down, Jasmine Roden once again feels the pressure and tries to throw it on the run, but it is incomplete. Basically just threw this one away. And so here we go. Third down with a minute left in the first half. Roden is able to evade Deja Fanning and is once again flushed out, but hits a wide open Adriana Rodriguez, who then drops it. It looks like just a concentration drop, honestly, but that's a tough drop. It's fourth down. Keiser decides to go ahead and punt it. There's about 30 seconds left here. Now, they tried to get something going here, but unfortunately they come up a bit short here and are not able to really, score. They do get a first down, but other than that, that is it. And so there we go. Going into the second half of this game, Keiser leads 14-0 over Florida Memorial. And to make things worse, Keiser actually starts on offense here. Roden finds Rubino in the flat, who goes ahead and makes a nice run here, gets them a first down to start this drive. After that, Roden finds Adriana Rodriguez on the out route, but it is a little bit behind her, so she has to kind of stop, and she's only able to get a couple of yards, which brings up second down here after the catch. And so here's second down. Roden then finds Marissa Rubino over the middle on a slant, making it a more manageable third down. And here on third down, Jasmine Roden scrambles out right, finds Chloe Griffin, who makes the diving catch here, but is marked just short here. And so here we go. It's fourth down. Keiser decides to go ahead and punt it, not wanting to give FMU great field position here. And so a good stop by FMU. They get the ball with about 9 minutes left here in the third quarter. Haley Stanton goes out there and throws it to Howell, who then throws it on the double pass to number 9. That is Ty Miluz Santos, who then hauls it in for the first down past midfield on a big 20-yard gain-ish, just about, maybe a little bit more. After that, they do attempt another double pass. Howell finds Santos once again for a nice gain, making it a first down in the red zone. So two big plays here goes ahead, two big chunk plays goes ahead and puts them in the red zone just like that. And then after that, Stanton throws it to Howell again. They're trying to, really work this 2-quarterback system, this double pass here. But she is then forced to check it down. But unfortunately, the pass is too low, so it's just incomplete. And so it's second down. So second down, they try to direct snap it to Kayla McDuffie. She gets it. She runs it up the middle, gets them a couple yards here, making it third down in the red zone. And so here we go, third down. Stanton tries to throw the comeback route, but it is really well covered. I believe it's Kennedy Foster out there who makes a play and deflects this one. And so now it is fourth down. And here on fourth down, Keiser brings a bit of pressure. Haley Stanton evades, dances around, then tries to throw it to Kayla McDuffie here, but she's not quite able to catch this one and bring it in. And so that is a turnover on downs after a very promising drive here. So there you go. Now, there's about 4 minutes, 21 seconds left here. Keiser has a chance to extend this lead and pretty much put this one away here. And so here's what happens. Jasmine Roden flushed out the pocket. She scrambles and gets a lot of yards here. Not only gets the first down, but gets a nice chunk play of about 15 plus yards or so. After that, throws the drag route to Marissa Rubino, who gets them just past midfield for another straight first down. And then after that, Roden rolls out right, throws it deep to Chloe Griffin once again, really wanting this deep ball to Chloe Griffin. But unfortunately, the pass is out of bounds here. And I think part of that is because of the pressure FMU is getting on her all game long. But no worries, on second down, she finds Kennedy Foster over the middle on a really nice gain, who gets them within 5 yards of the first down. To go ahead and convert here, she would throw to Adriana Rodriguez on the drag, who gets them that first down and puts them in the red zone again. Now, before we go into the fourth quarter, Roden does throw to Rodriguez, who tries to pitch it to Rubino, but they call it an illegal forward pass, and so they do back them up a little bit here. All right, now the fourth quarter begins here. FMU trying to hold Keiser out of the red zone so that they could potentially climb back into this one. And so here we go, third down, Jasmine Roden forced to scramble right and tries to throw it, but it is thrown out the back of the end zone. Great pressure here by Florida Memorial, and more specifically Deja Fanning, who is having a great game for her first career collegiate game here. Now, fourth down, Roden once again has to scramble, but goes left and then tries to pitch it back to her center or back here, but she drops it. And so just like that, that is a turnover on downs. FMU gets a good stop, and they get the ball here with about 9 minutes 35 seconds left. But before they could call a play, there is a penalty thrown on them pre-snap, which backs them up just a little bit. Following that penalty, Stanton tries to throw the out route, but it is a little too low, and so it's incomplete, making it second down. After that, here on second down, Stanton takes a shot deep down the left sideline here, just really wanting a chunk play, but Sydney Woodman for Keiser gets a huge interception, giving Keiser the ball with about 7 minutes left here. And so 7 minutes left, first play after the pick, Jasmine Roden drops back, feels the pressure, lofts up a really nice throw here, a lot of air underneath this one, deep here, trying to find the freshman Sophia Caprio, and Caprio just runs underneath this beautiful throw here, a lot of speed on this one, and catches her first career receiving touchdown from Jasmine Roden. A beautiful ball here, I gotta say, just anticipates this one perfectly and puts a lot of air on it so that the freshman could go get it. And so just like that, Keiser takes a 20-0 lead here with about 6 minutes 40 seconds left. They don't get the extra point. Roden tries to pitch it, but they are stopped short here. And unfortunately, that would basically be it here. They would put in Howell. She would get them a first down, but ultimately, FMU is forced to punt it. And then just like that, they go ahead and run out the clock here, and the game ends with about 2 minutes left, since they do have a 20-point lead. And so Keiser wins a hard-fought game 20-0. I feel like this is another close game here where, Florida Memorial, they had their chances. They did have, I believe, that one red zone trip after those 2 huge double passes that they probably should have scored on. And then there were a couple drives where they didn't quite get into the red zone, but they were maybe a couple of yards out, just on the edge of that, and they just weren't able to honestly complete those drives. They weren't able to finish those drives, and because of that, Keiser was able to hold on and win 20-0. I do want to say player of the game from this one is Jasmine Roden. 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. She looked really sharp, and she was under duress all game, but made a lot of really good decisions, made some excellent throws, and, that's why she was an MVP candidate last year. And so really good game from Keiser. They will take the 1-0 to start the season. FMU, they do play Weber on the same week, but I'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and shift and talk about St. Thomas versus Thomas University on February 18th, 2023. Season opener for both. Thomas opening at home here. The defending Sun Conference champions. Here's how it went down here in the first quarter. It is 3rd and 6 after an incompletion and deflection. St. Thomas has the football here. And here's what happened. Julian Yokowski takes a shot deep down the right sideline, trying to get a big chunk play. But Giselle Jones for Thomas outruns the receiver and reaches out, making a great hands catch here, and snags an excellent interception and then returns it here. And just like that, Thomas has the ball just past midfield here. And so I want to note this here on their first offensive drive. Daytona Beach freshman Alexa Wilson is starting at quarterback instead of last year's starter Shelby Hartley. So really interesting here, but she would be the starter for all of this game. And so here's what happens. Wilson to start throws a nice out route. Nakara Brown, who gets them a nice gain. After that, she then goes and finds Giselle Jones on the curl route, who gets another couple yards, making it about 3rd and 5 or so. And here on 3rd down, NAIA Leon from St. Thomas applies the pressure and gets a nice deflection here, forcing a 4th down. And here on 4th down, Thomas decides to go for it, and they try to throw it on the run here, but unfortunately this ball was just incomplete and a little inaccurate, and so St. Thomas takes over. Thomas not quite being able to go ahead and make them pay for that previous turnover. And so after an incompletion on 1st down, as Jada Reese per usual applies pressure, forcing a quick throw, Yokowski tries to throw the check down, but it is broken up by a Thomas defender, and it brings up 3rd down. Here on 3rd down though, Jada Reese once again applies pressure, and Yokowski has to maneuver and get the ball out here, but the ball is way too high, and so just like that, thanks to some great rushing by Jada Reese, they go 3 and out and punt it back to Thomas. And so Thomas, to start, they are moving the pocket here, and they would do this for the rest of the game basically, but they roll Wilson out left. She finds Giselle Jones, who gets them a couple yards, bring up a 2nd down. After that, they roll her the other way, and they throw it. The ball is caught, they get a couple yards, but they do call holding on St. Thomas, so that gives them a couple yards and also gives them the 1st down past midfield, first one of the season. After an incompletion on 1st down, before the 2nd down play though, they do throw a penalty on St. Thomas again. I believe it's offsides, which moves them up just a little bit, making it 2nd and 7. And so here we go on this play. Wilson throws it to Giselle Jones on the curl route, but it's a little bit too high, as Leon does get some pressure on this play here. And so 3rd and 7, Wilson tries to throw it to Jones, this time on the out route, but it is a little late and inaccurate, and so it's incomplete. Now it's 4th down. Once again, Thomas decides to go for it as they are past midfield. And so here we go. Wilson tries to throw over the middle after going through her reads, But just great defense by St. Thomas goes ahead and they deflect that football and throw. And just like that, once again, it is a turnover on downs here. And so here we go. St. Thomas takes over. Yukowski tries to sidearm this one, but Britt Delva dives in to force the incompletion. And by the way, at this point, St. Thomas has not been able to complete a pass yet, and there's only 3 minutes left in the first quarter, so just keep that in mind. But anyways, they go ahead and try to throw it again, this time to Maria Vega, but it is dropped. So now it's third down here. And here on third down, Reese, once again being a force of nature, forces Yukowski to throw an ill-advised pass over the middle. It's not picked off, but it is deflected, and so that brings up third down as once again St. Thomas goes 3 and out here and would actually not be able to complete a pass until the second quarter. Part of it is just really good defense by Thomas though. And so here we go, Thomas, they take over just before midfield here, right before the second quarter. Wilson rolls out left, finds Janae Scott, who makes somebody miss and then gets a nice gain of a couple of yards, making it 2nd and 4 or so. And then after that play, Wilson rolls out right here, finds Nakara Brown, who almost gets the first down but is pulled short here. And that brings up third and basically inches here. And to end this first quarter, Wilson goes ahead on the quarterback keeper / scramble. I couldn't tell which play it was, honestly. And she gets the first down past midfield. And that's where they start to begin the second quarter. And so here we go, first down in the second quarter. Wilson looks to run, but then she tries to step behind the line of scrimmage and throws it, which was completed, but ultimately they would call an illegal forward pass, and so they would push them back a little bit. Still though, it's second down here. So here we go, second down. Wilson once again rolling out, this time right, kind of throws an ill-advised throw here, which Tashumba Washington just gets a huge interception and returns this one past midfield, already her third of the year in 2 games. And so bad decision there, but St. Thomas, they do have the ball here. It's still 0-0. It's anybody's game, but they want to get on the board, obviously. And so with the ball, Jada Graham is now in at quarterback. She throws it to Kaylee Miller, who makes somebody miss and then sprints down the field, basically the middle of the field, for a huge gain, getting them in the red zone. She actually almost walks in, but somebody is able to pull her flag just short. So not only are they in the red zone, but they're maybe 4 or 5 yards-ish just away, maybe even shorter than that. So there you go. But they keep Jada Graham in here at quarterback. She feels the pressure, throws the quick route here, the quick drag route for the touchdown to Dominique Parks. I believe that's the first of her career as well. And just like that, St. Thomas takes advantage of a turnover and go up 6-0. Now, they do try to throw the extra point here, but it is deflected at the line. Still 6-0 going into this next drive. Wilson and Thomas trying to bounce back from that mistake. And so here's how they start. Wilson rolls out right on first and then decides to scramble and would go ahead and just get them the first down just like that to keep this thing going. Then on first down, she would throw a quick hitter, finds Delva, would go ahead and get them a couple yards. Following that play, though, she would then find Britt Delva for a quick little throw here. She would get a couple yards. But then Wilson tries to throw this football once again on the run, and it is tipped, I believe, by Leon, the rusher, and then intercepted by Kayla Alvarez, who comes down with a huge interception and gets them started right on the edge of the red zone. So St. Thomas with a chance to go up by 2 scores. They keep Jada Graham in at quarterback. On first down, Jada Reese with the pressure forces an incompletion. Second down, they go ahead and Graham scrambles around, tries to throw it over a defender, it looks like, but Aaliyah Wood gets a huge interception. It looks like a one-handed interception, but she absolutely skies for this one, and she makes Jada Graham pay here for not throwing it high enough here. And so Thomas gets the ball back just like that, trading interceptions here. And so with the football, Wilson rolls out and throws a quick hitch once again to Giselle Jones, who makes a couple people miss and then gets the first down, putting them across midfield. By the way, Thomas, they're not really taking any deep shots here, at least not against this secondary. It's all short stuff basically, and that would continue as Wilson finds Kiara Knight on another short throw for a short gain here. By the way, you could also just assume they are also rolling Wilson out on pretty much every play to avoid that pressure. And so then on the next play, Wilson finds Knight once more on a beautiful downfield throw here. On the run, mind you, but just an absolute dot here. And Kiara Knight makes an excellent possession catch, toe tapping this one inbounds, which would go ahead and put Thomas in the red zone. And so following that play, they're in the red zone, it's first down. Wilson starts rolling out left, then comes back right, and she finds a wide open Kiara Knight once more, and she hits her again for a wide open touchdown. Wilson's first career touchdown here, by the way, which would also tie the game 6-6 with about 6 minutes 50 seconds left here. And so here's how it goes down. Nicole and Scott in the backfield. They are that red zone duo for Thomas here. They go ahead and try to call play, but before the play is ran, they do call a false start on Thomas, which kind of moves them back a bit. And so they take out Nicole and Scott, well, at least from the backfield, and put Wilson back in here. She tries to run for this one, but her flag is pulled, and so this game stays tied here. And so St. Thomas, following that mistake, they roll out Jada Graham once more at quarterback. She rushes, but gets her flag pulled at the line of scrimmage by Jada Reese. Doesn't get super far. Then they go ahead and put Yokowski back in. And they try and run this little 2 quarterback set, it looks like here, with Graham to the side. Yokowski tries to throw it to Graham, but this ball is just way too low, and because it's a backward pass, they don't call this one incomplete. It's considered a fumble technically, which is also a dead ball at the spot. And so St. Thomas is moved back a lot of yards here, and they are now backed up on their own red zone, and it's also third down. And so here on third down, Yokowski takes the safe bet, checks it down, but obviously that player's flag is pulled really quickly, and St. Thomas goes 3 and out, having to punt this one. But to make things worse, this is a really bad punt. It barely goes maybe 10 yards, 15 yards. And so Thomas is actually set up on the edge of the red zone here. Not quite there, but they are on the edge. And so here's what happens. Wilson scrambles for a couple yards. She would go ahead and put them in the red zone with that first down play there. And so here we go. First down in the red zone. She rolls out left. And then throws it to a Cole who gets them a couple yards. Second down, Wilson rolls out left once again before coming back right side and then throws it off platform. And this throw is almost picked, but it's deflected by St. Thomas. I would say it's a drop by the St. Thomas defender. Either way, it's third down here. You gotta make the most of this opportunity. Wilson rolls out right, finds Aaliyah Wood over the middle, but I believe they go ahead and call a penalty on St. Thomas, and they move Thomas up. It's still third down, though. And so, once again, running it back, it's third down. Cole and Scott are in, and Keanu Cole basically sprints out left, tries to dive for the end zone, but is marked just short here. A flag is thrown once again on St. Thomas, though, and moves them up just a little bit. But once again, they repeat third down. And here on third down, Cole goes ahead and punches this one in for the rushing touchdown, giving Thomas the 12-6 lead here. Now they aren't able to get the extra point, and so St. Thomas gets the ball back with 1:58 left. And so Yokowski, now back in at quarterback, finds a nice little spot route over the middle and throws it to Kayla Alvarez, who goes ahead and gives them the first down. Good start to this drive. After that, they try, I believe, a reverse play this time to Jada Graham. She does make a player miss, but she's just able to get back to the line of scrimmage before her flag is pulled. And so second down here. Timeout is called before the second down play, though, to stop it at 1:35, by the way. But it's second down, and here Yolkowski feels the pressure from Jada Reese, dumps it to Maya Salas, who then gets her flag pulled once again at the line of scrimmage. And so now it's third down. Not a lot of gains here. Yolkowski tries to take a shot downfield, but it is underthrown, and actually it's almost picked by Aaliyah Wood once again, but it is just deflected here. And so St. Thomas just not getting anywhere here, and Thomas using their timeouts well go ahead and get the ball back. St. Thomas will punt it with about a minute 20 left here. Thomas, to start their drive, has about a minute 14 after the punt and return. And so here's what happens. They're trying to build on this lead. Wilson throws a quick hitter. That player gets out of bounds. And by the way, the first down past midfield with a minute 8 seconds left. Plenty of time here. So just keep that in mind. Right after that, Wilson rolls out right, finds Aaliyah Wood, who gets an amazing snag, by the way, and goes ahead and tacks on another couple of yards for a nice gain of 15 or so. And then Wilson, she goes ahead and finds Jones on the rollout left this time on the quick throw. And then Giselle Jones would go ahead and get them the first down. And so Thomas is rolling as they are now in the red zone thanks to that reception from Giselle Jones. By the way, 41.4 seconds left here. And so here we go. Another rollout, as you could guess. This time it's right. Wilson finds Kiara Knight, gets a nice sideline catch before stepping out. This one goes for about 10 yards here. Second down, Wilson goes the opposite way, goes left here, and throws to a waiting Giselle Jones on the hitch, who stretches for the end zone, but is marked just short, basically on the one. So it's 3rd and 1 here, 27 seconds left. They go ahead and call a timeout. Nicole and Scott comes in, you know what that means, and Nicole runs it up the middle for an easy touchdown, extending their lead to 18-6. But to add on to it, they keep Nicole and Scott out there for the conversion. Nicole is getting rushed. She makes a defender miss and then sprints for the pylon here down the left side and gets in for the extra point, making it 19-6 here. Now, St. Thomas, they would get the ball back, will get a first down, would actually get in the red zone, but, you know, it wasn't really going to result in a score here. They try to run some sort of screen to Jada Graham, but they go ahead and pull her flag, and that ends the half here. Thomas exploding here. Great time management, by the way, but taking a pretty dominant 19-6 lead going into the third quarter, where they get the ball on offense. Okay, now to start the third quarter, here's how it goes. Wilson finds Kiana Nicole on a hitch route, who has a lot of room here, is left kind of open, and she makes St. Thomas pay, gets a nice gain of 10 or so yards, and the first down on top of that. After that, Wilson scrambles for a couple, making it 2nd and 10. Second down, Wilson rolls out, throws it to Nicole on the short throw, who then makes another player miss and runs for another nice gain past midfield and another first down. Kiana Nicole really heating up here. But anyways, past midfield, Wilson rolls out, this time left, but then comes back right, and once again hits Nicole, who gets another good gain. Not as much this time, but for 5 or so yards here. Following that play, Wilson, feeling the pressure from Leon, is forced to throw it away. That brings up third down here. And so on third down, Wilson finds Brittany Devil on the out route, who goes ahead and makes it nice and close, 4th and about a yard or so to go here. Couldn't quite get there, but doesn't matter. Wilson would go ahead and find Aaliyah Wood here on the nice little spot route, who makes some magic happens, makes some people miss, and gets a lot of yards after the catch. Not only gets them a first down here, but also gets them pretty much in the red zone here. By the way, they would also throw a penalty on St. Thomas that would continue to move them up. So just a really sloppy game from St. Thomas here, it feels. But anyways, Wilson on first down, she would take a sack, so that would happen. And now it's second down here. On second down this time, Wilson evades the rush, tries to check it down to Cole, but it's dropped. That brings up third down. Mind you, they are in the red zone here. On third down, Wilson rolls out right and then comes back left here, throwing it up to the corner of the end zone here. Not the greatest decision, kind of throwing left off platform here. And the receiver thankfully goes ahead and bats this one down, which prevents a pick basically. And so here we go. It's fourth down here. Thomas does call a timeout though before that. So now they have 2 timeouts here. And here on fourth down, Wilson maneuvers beautifully here. It looks like she is really working this pocket, if there was a pocket. And she goes ahead and shifts the defense left, staring down this left sideline before coming all the way back right and throwing to a wide open Aaliyah Wood for the first touchdown of Aaliyah Wood's career here. And just like that, they go up 25-6 here. Cole would run it in for the extra point, making it 26-6 here with about 4 minutes and 5 seconds left in the third. Just not looking great here for St. Thomas. And so St. Thomas, they roll out Jada Graham on offense this time at quarterback. She checks it down. It's now 2nd and 2 after a quick flag pull. After that, Graham once again tries to check it down, but Nakara Brown gets a really nice deflection. It's really almost intercepted here, but she couldn't quite bring it in, so now it's third down here. And so here on third down, Jada Graham feels the pressure, tries to throw it up, throw a deep shot here, but Aaliyah Wood, once again, the freshman, coming up big time, comes up with a huge interception basically on the jump ball, and then goes ahead and gives Thomas the ball here in the red zone here. Now in the red zone, by the way, there's 3 minutes 40 seconds left. On the first play, Wilson rolls out right. She's just trying to extend this play here, but I think she does a little bit too much. A penalty is thrown, and it looks like she tries to throw this one away, but it ends up just being a really bad throw that is just easily intercepted by either number 32 or number 33 of St. Thomas. I couldn't quite see there, but they get a pretty easy interception and they go ahead and get the ball back for St. Thomas. The penalty ended up being on Thomas, so there you go there. Now it is 26-6 here. I'm gonna kind of spoil it because St. Thomas doesn't really have a chance to come back and win this one. But basically what happens is that St. Thomas would get a touchdown here to make it 26-12. But at this point, there's about 10 minutes, 37 seconds left. Thomas is definitely in basically chew the clock mode, which is what they have done really well in this last year. Just chew the clock in the fourth quarter. That is their brand here. St. Thomas would eventually get the football here. But it would take them a really long time to get another score here. Yolkowski would find, first off, Deshaun Washington on a deep throw, who gets about 30 plus yards on this one to set this touchdown up. And then Yolkowski then finds Tyler Bryant over the middle for a nice touchdown. They wouldn't get the extra point though. Thomas at this point still led 26-18, but there was a minute 26 seconds left in this game by the time that happened. Thomas really pretty much controlled this one the entire fourth quarter, despite, St. Thomas putting up some more points to make this one look a little bit better here. But anyways, the final score of this one was Thomas 26, St. Thomas 18 here. If I had to pick a player of the game, I would have to go with the freshman phenom, Aaliyah Wood. Played extremely well, was a big-time receiver for another fellow freshman in Wilson, and also had a pick as well here. In addition, just played really good football too, getting a lot of deflections on defense too. So I got to give it to Aaliyah Wood. A lot of great players balled out, but I think Aaliyah Wood definitely kept them in this one, and so that is big time. Okay, now we do have one more game from the weekend. Florida Memorial versus Weber. I'm just gonna have all cards on the table. We are not living on the East Coast. In fact, we live in the mountains of Colorado. This is just something we like to do. Spotlighting these athletes and coaches and the great game of football, really. And so we are not able to go to that game in person because obviously if we could, we would. So basically everything we do is through live stream. And there wasn't a live stream, and then there was, I guess, a link or something created, and it was there, but it said the broadcast was delayed, and then they just never ended up showing the game, which is really disappointing. But, you know, we've already seen FMU play once a season, and hopefully we'll see Weber play multiple times this season, or, well, I'll be personally heartbroken if we don't, because there are some good athletes that I really want to be able to watch. But we do have a couple updates, I guess, and I was able to pull a very quick recap from the FMU website. Basically, the final score was 20-7. Weber would win, but this was a pretty good game. At least at the sound of it, it felt like it was pretty close here. At halftime, it was actually 7-7, I'm pretty sure here. I know for Florida Memorial, they got their first score of the season. That was led by Haley Stanton throwing her first touchdown pass, so that got them going here. And then obviously the defense played really well once more here, only allowing a touchdown. And then even then, going into the fourth quarter, Weber only led 14-7, so it was really anybody's game here. But, you know, some of the same storylines. The offense for Florida Memorial just kind of struggled. I know there were 2 interceptions that sounded like they happened in the second half that really kind of killed some of the vibes, and I'm sure there was some struggling between gelling and whatnot still, as it is only their second game. And so FMU was just not able to score and finish those drives once more. And then Weber, you know, they found a way to get it done. They grinded it out against a pretty tough squad that's only getting better. And now they're 1-0. And honestly, to start the season, that's what matters. You'll build and get better as things go on. And so I actually really like this win for Weber here to go ahead and tough it out and find a way to get it done. And so there you go. Once again, I apologize for not being able to, well, I guess for not being able to watch it. Hopefully, well, you should be able to watch more games for both of these teams, the majority of them, if not all, moving forward. So we'll see, but that's how it went down. Weber defeats FMU in their season opener 20-7. Okay, now let's talk Playmakers of the week here, or Playmaker of the week, I guess. We'll pick one here, and this year I kind of want to do it just a little bit differently here. So basically, every game that we watch, whether it's myself, Cody, or intern Gideon, you know, we'll watch it, obviously review it, and then we will pick a player of the game, obviously for the winning team in that one, and those will be our candidates for Playmaker of the week. I feel like last year we basically did that, but I just want to make sure that's clear going into this year. And so let's go ahead and get it started here. Let's start in the season opener between St. Thomas and Warner here. I actually picked 2. I really struggled with picking one on this one. I feel like both were pretty well deserving, but I have Jada Graham here. She was the lead receiver for St. Thomas in that game against Warner, and also had a touchdown plus like a million pass deflections. She did get that one interception, but it was called back though. I mean, she was a force on both sides of the ball. And then this is a pretty familiar face here. You got Cempbellsville, Washington in her first game. She already is getting started. Had 2 interceptions in this game. Both were big time and key in this one. And honestly, I also want to shout out their game against Thomas, where they played pretty well too. Jada Graham, she stepped up at quarterback actually for a lot of that game, if you remember, and led some pretty good drives there. Cempbellsville, Washington, she did have that big reception at the end to make it close. Plus, I believe she added on another interception. So, well, she is the interception leader in the entire country with 3 through 2 games. And so both great players who had a pretty good weekend between those 2 games there. So I want to go ahead and shout her or those 2 athletes out there. And then in this other game from that day, the 15th, we have Florida Memorial versus Keiser. And I think this one is pretty obvious, but I'm going to go ahead and go with another familiar name that consistently made these lists and got these accolades last year, and that's Keiser's quarterback Jasmine Roden. 3 touchdown passes. I don't believe she had any interceptions, a whole bunch of yardage and rushing yards as well. And actually, I have her stats right here. It took me a minute to go ahead and find those. But Jasmine wrote in stats from that game. 17 of 27, 173 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no picks, only took 1 sack there. And then on the ground, on 3 attempts, 26 rushing yards, no touchdowns there. But a very clean game. Found 3 different receivers, got a lot of players going, really just kept the chains going, and honestly was just really sharp for this team. Didn't hurt Keiser at all, obviously, and this was a pretty close game. And so I think she's very deserving of that one. So there you go. Now, Thomas versus St. Thomas, there were definitely a couple people I could have, given this to. But, I think I gotta go with the freshman, Aaliyah Woods. First off, she's a freshman coming on to a championship team. Like I said in the season preview, I wasn't sure, how many freshmen would be able to get up in there and contribute a ton. I did name drop Aaliyah Woods, though, and said, if anybody was going to get in there, I think for sure she should be able to. I do want to shout out Alexa Wilson for Thomas. He had a bit of a tough game, 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. But she was tough out there, never really fell apart too badly, and that allowed Thomas to win this one big. But back to Aaliyah Woods here. I mean, a freshman going ahead and contributing to this team, that is absolutely big time. Let's go ahead and talk stats here in that game versus St. Thomas, which was a pretty hard-fought game there. I mean, she had 4 receptions, 34 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown in that one. I think the only other person that caught a touchdown was Kiara Knight, so there you go. And then on defense as well, I mean, she came up pretty big here. 2 tackles, 2 flagpoles, and then 2 interceptions for this Thomas squad, which was huge because, like I said, there were some struggles on offense, but I would say this defense, per usual, really stepped up. And this time it was Aaliyah Woods, who did her thing and was pretty excellent there. So there you go there. Now, I would pick a Playmaker of the Week for FMU versus Weber, but like I said, I just didn't watch the game, and so I'm gonna keep it to these 4 candidates here for now. But hopefully we'll be able to get to watch a game, or at least get a recap up in a good amount of time, and then I could always pick from there. But I do want to just say that and pick from these 4 great playmakers, and so I'm going to actually have to go with, for this week 1 Playmaker of the Week to start the 2023 season, I believe the freshman out of Thomas, Aaliyah Wood, deserves it. Once again, 2 interceptions, 1 receiving touchdown, and then 4 receptions for, I believe, 34 yards in their season opener versus St. Thomas. Just a very good job, and all these other players were players who were playmakers last year and whatnot and did their thing, but I really want to make sure we just don't pass up how great it is for a freshman to step in, especially a team like Thomas that really doesn't have that many weaknesses. Was a very solid team, very complete team last year, and so for her to contribute and make the most out of her situations was definitely big time, especially in a game where the offense did struggle a little bit and they just relied on their defense to really help them out. And so gotta give her a lot of credit. But there you go, that is your Playmaker of the Week. Alright, now let's move on to power rankings. This will be our last big segment here, but let's just go ahead and talk about it real quick. So basically how it goes, myself and Cody, who is my other co-host, we go ahead and make power rankings for these squads. I know each of us have teams ranked separately, and then we come together and rank them accordingly and have all of our reasons and all of that great stuff. And so that's how it works. It's me and Cody running these power rankings depending on strength of wins, losses, and just all of that stuff. Also how good teams are playing as well. And so that's how we do these. We'll do these hopefully each week here. I also want to shout out our friends at NAIA F-Ball. Go follow them on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. They're really good friends of the podcast. They are, in my opinion, I think the only other media outlet that's not directly linked to one school here that covers women's flag football and NAIA football in general. So there you go. We participate in their poll, their media poll as well. It's only a top 4, and so our top 4 rankings, Cody and mine, we go ahead and send them over to those guys over there. So there you go. Wanted to make sure I give them a shout out here because they do a lot for the coverage of this sport as well. So boom. Now, let's talk about last year's rankings, the rankings at the end of the season, because we didn't make preseason rankings for this season. I'm not even gonna lie, we were just a little bit behind, and so these week 1 rankings will be kind of a combination of where teams left off last year or where we had them ranked last year, and then how some of them did week 1, and then just some other conversations which we'll talk about when we dive into this. But let's talk about last year's rankings. So here we go. At number, well, let's start at the bottom here. At number 12 here is Milligan. Xavier was on this list, but I don't believe they have a program anymore. At least I couldn't find anything on it for this year, and so I took them out, but they were previously last year. But Milligan here is 12. At 11, Cody. 10, Florida Memorial. 9, Midland. 8, St. Thomas. 7, University of St. Mary. 6, Warner. 5, Weber. 4, Kansas Wesleyan. 3, Keiser. 2, Thomas. And 1, Ottawa. So those were the rankings at the end of last football season in 2022. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these week 1 rankings. So I want to start at 13. It's kind of tied here at 13 here, but we got Reinhardt, Bethel, and Campbellsville. Like I said, those are the new teams joining these all these great programs, women's flag football programs this season. And because they did not play last year, obviously, those start at the bottom for now. They're all tied, but obviously as they win games, they'll be able to move up. So just wanted to say that me and Cody agreed that for now, they're at the bottom and they got to earn their way up. So as they win, we'll see. But for now, they're all tied at 13 here. Now, at 12, we got Milligan. 11 is Cody. That doesn't really change too much from last year. At 10, we got FMU here. And so, let me go ahead and talk about them. First things first, in last year's rankings, they were at 10, so they just don't really move for me. In my personal rankings, I have them at 9 here, in Midland at 10, but Cody has Midland at 9 and FMU at 10. I mean, we talked about it. We decided to put them right here, and so let me talk about it here. So right now they are 0-2. They lost to Keiser 20-0. Then they also lost to Weber 20-7. Both really close games. I know on paper it doesn't look close, but they were. They were very close games. Games that they had chances to win. Legitimate chances. And I think, honestly, in both of against Weber, that was the closest game they've ever had against them. Against Keiser, they might have had a closer game last year, but against Weber, that has been the closest game they've ever had in program history, which is big time. But, they lost to, here, let's just talk about it. I mean, they lost to Keiser. Like I said, it was close. Defense, I felt like, did their thing. They did allow some really big splash plays, and then they came back down to the ground and did their job and were good. But ultimately, I felt like the offense, we both feel like the offense obviously just did not hold up their side of the bargain. 1 touchdown in 2 games, that is not, you can't win that way. Like, there's no way. You got to score at least 1 to win. So there you go. Now, despite making it into the red zone once and having a number of good drives downfield, they just weren't able to finish drives or really get it done in this game and in the Weber game, and obviously that ended up hurting them. So, that's tough, but defensively they played well. And even then, offensively, I would say, and Cody would agree with me here, they have shown really good signs of improvement and life. Last year, there were plenty of drives that did not make past midfield or stalled out really early on. At least some of these drives are longer drives that are stalling out. So that's progress. And so I'm going to reiterate this one more time. They're here at 10, but really keep an eye on FMU, because this is a team that's only going to get better as the season goes on. They're not going to be the same team you play at the beginning of the season. They're really hunting for an upset, to be honest with you. So, boom, it's out there. There you go. Now, at 9 is Midland. I mean, they haven't played yet. So, there you go. I think on Cody's list, he has Midland at 9 as well. Like I said, I had Midland at 10. Last year, Midland was at 9, so they basically just stay there. Ahead of them, we have the University of St. Mary. I mean, they haven't played either yet. They will here in a couple weeks here. The only reason they've really moved down is because they were at 7 at the end of last season. It's just because other teams have played games and have won. I'm sure as they, play games and win or lose or whatever, that'll eventually get adjusted. But, teams that play are going to move up, especially if you win 2. So, there you go. At 7, we got Warner here. Cody has them in 6 in his personal rankings. For me, I have them at 7. I think they were closer to 6, but we decided 7 was a good spot. And so let me go ahead and say what Cody typed up here. He said, I'm going to leave Warner here for their early lead against St. Thomas, but outside of that drive, it was definitely a struggle. 50% completion is rough, and if they want to keep up in the Sun Conference, they're going to have to turn up more than that. And yeah, no, absolutely agreed. I mean, they're only 0-1 right now. Lost 12-7 to a solid St. Thomas team here. And I am also going to throw this out there. I honestly believe St. Thomas has one of the best defenses in the entire country. But I'm gonna also put this out there. If I'm Warner, you know what you could do. You have the players to do better than 7 points, and you know that. It doesn't matter how good another defense is. You control what you could do ultimately. I mean, you have a star in Holmes, you have a pretty competent quarterback, I would say, in Tinchin, and then you have all these other great athletes. I'm even thinking about some of the freshmen they brought in, Mari Logan, Anna Vincenzini. You got some players out there. Trinity Kieran returning from last year. And so for them to just really struggle and just kind of play a sloppy game, really just more so on offense. I think defense, they did fine. You allowed 12 points and you somehow lost. That's tough. And so moving forward, we'll see what happens. I know it's the first game of the season, so there is rust to knock off here, but, you are a collegiate program. You're one of the highest levels of women's flag football with all this talent, too. And so expectations are high going into the second year, basically, with this program. So, yeah, under this regime, at least. So we'll see. They're here at 7. 0-1. This isn't the worst loss here. I'm just going to throw this out there. Definitely a good chance for them to rise here as the season goes on. So, yeah. Now, at 6, we got Kansas Wesleyan. They haven't played yet here, and this is actually what Cody has to say about that. He says, I know this may seem rough to knock KWU down this much, but not playing games plus a new coach will have to earn their way back up the ladder. I am excited to see how the new tenor takes over, but gotta see it first. For reference, last season, KWU, first off, they won the silver bracket and they finished 4th. They do drop just 2 spots here. I mean, other teams played, and yeah, they do have a new head coach, and so there are obviously going to be some doubts, but you are returning mostly the same team here, minus Marissa Rubino and some other ones. YLI is a big one, but we'll see. You gotta play, and we'll go from there. But like I said, it's week 1. Now at 5 is St. Thomas here. Cody and I both agreed on this ranking for them. Let me start with what he had to say. He said their opening win was exciting, but you would hope that this team could capitalize more against a vulnerable Thomas team that they forced turnovers on, but just couldn't quite seal the deal. Still at 1-1 with their vaunted defense, it's a program to be excited for. Now, St. Thomas, they beat Warner 12-7, then lost to Thomas in Georgia, by the way, 26-18. Look, we saw some good, and then we saw some okay this weekend. They had a slow start versus Warner, but they grinded that one out. That results in a very good win. Against Thomas, they really hung in there with them, but a tough kind of like middle of the game, second and third quarter, that just didn't go their way at all. Made that game very difficult for them to win. Now, they did score some points at the end of the fourth quarter to make this one closer, or at least look closer, but I mean, you got to do better in the middle of the game. You got to play a little bit more of a complete game, and to be honest with you, I'm not super worried about this defense. Like I said, I feel like this defense is a top tier defense and is arguably a top 2 or 3 unit, probably a top 3 unit in the entire country. Now, offensively, there have been flashes, a lot to be excited for. Yolkowski has gotten in there. She's pretty much done a good job, still obviously growing as she's only a sophomore. You have Jada Graham back. She's been a big time playmaker, getting in there at quarterback sometimes at receiver. But on offense, ultimately, you just got to play better. You got to really start putting it together, because I think you really have something special with your defense here. So for now, they are just outside this top 4 here. I think it's okay for them to be at 5. They definitely have the potential to move into the top 4, even top 3 potentially. So we'll see as the season goes on. Obviously, it's the beginning, so you have some things you got to work on, but there are some really positive things, and I think you could work with that moving forward. Now at 4, we both have Weber. This is what Cody says: leaving opening week undefeated at 1-0 is a great feeling, especially with a strong second half to regain the lead and eventually close this game. Big test in their next contest against Keiser to see if they belong and could stay here in the top 4. And yeah, no, absolutely agreed. I really wanted to watch this game because there's a lot of great athletes that we've supported that are on there now. And, this is a team that it feels a little bit more different going into this season. They should be a lot better, I would say. And so we'll see what they do moving forward. Really excited to watch them play. Then at 3, we both got Keiser. Look, they're 1-0. They beat FMU 20-0. I mean, they played a team in FMU who honestly really pushed them, and it was a 14-0 lead going into the 4th. They would stay the course and earn this one, though. At the end, like I said, winning 20-0. Jasmine Roden, she played a clean game and showed why she is one of the top QBs in the entire country. Plus, her MVP campaign begins now. Some would say, oh, why didn't they score more? FMU, they're like 10 or whatever. Yeah, they are 10. Look, I think FMU is better than the record. I think, like I said, this is a team that is going to upset somebody either in this top 5 or this top 10, anybody ahead of them, sooner than later. They're really on the cusp here, and so honestly, I'm more impressed by Keiser just staying the course, not being freaked out that it's a little bit of a closer game, and just playing a very clean game of football here. And so really like that. It's very encouraging to see Jasmine Roden super sharp here with all her receivers. I know they were really trying to take away Kennedy Foster. She's going to make a play or two. That's just who she is. She's a playmaker like that, even when she is doubled and triple teamed. But for other players like Marissa Rubino to get up in there and get going, we know what she's been able to do. Sophia Caprio, that freshman, to really turn up. That's big time. Also, Chloe Griffin as well. We've been known that, though, after last season. All reasons to be an optimist. Now, at number 2, we got Thomas here. Let me talk about them first. So, first off, they're 1-0. Beat St. Thomas 26-18. A win is a win. Now, the runner-ups, they rolled out a new quarterback. And, I mean, she struggled throwing 3 interceptions that are honestly a bit inexcusable. You can't make those plays, and it wasn't like, oh, it got tipped, and then, no, they were just not the greatest decisions, and she's a freshman, right? You could expect that, But I'm going to also throw this out there here in case she is the starter for the rest of the season, because I don't know what the quarterback situation right now. I do understand why she would be the starter. First things first, I mean, she's going to be around this program for a very long time because I do think she's talented. There were some throws and plays she extended that were very impressive and, showed flashes. I mean, she threw for a solid 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and you could really live with that if you are Thomas. There's going to be growing pains with any young quarterback, especially when they're transitioning level to level, like middle to high school to college to pros. That's natural. And St. Thomas is no slouch either. They're a very good defense. I think outside of STU, Ottawa is probably the only other one that's better. I would say right now that I've seen. And, looking at defenses on paper too. And so there's no real shame in that, but you got to clean some of those things up here. This Thomas defense, they played really well, and the score really doesn't reflect how dominant they truly were. They kind of let them come back just a little bit at the end there, but they were going to win regardless, which is what matters at the end. And so really impressed by this team. I think this Thomas defense, they were the top defense last year. I think this year they got better, and significantly too. So we'll see. That's a lot. There's a lot to be happy about. For your offense to throw 3 picks, have those turnovers, and still win 26-18 it's pretty good. It's pretty good, and it's not like you're playing a slouch either. So you could be happy about that if you're Thomas, in my opinion. But always something to work on moving forward. Now, Cody said, I won't knock Thomas for winning, although it was a very sloppy win. I am not sure if that same kind of performance would beat a Keiser team that was clicking this week, but they will retain the spot in hopes of knocking some rust off and quarterback play stabilizing. And yeah, absolutely agreed. I mean, we'll see what happens moving forward. This Thomas defense is good, though. That's their bread and butter, and defenses win championships. Now, number 1 is Ottawa. I mean, they're the defending national champs, and I mean, there's no reason to move them down here. I mean, they won the last 2 years, which is obviously big, and then even then, they didn't really lose too many players here. The first one that comes to mind is probably Clara Bodaway. She kind of did a lot for that offense. I know Jennifer Anthony, I believe, as well, is another one you're losing on defense. But other than that, I mean, you have new players brought in. You have a number of really good players brought in, and they have a really deep roster. And so excited to watch them play, but there's no reason to move them down here because they are the defending champs. And on top of that, I mean, on paper, they still look pretty good. So, there you go. I think that's pretty understandable, though. But those are your Week 1 rankings. One more time. Tied at 13 is these 3 teams, Reinhardt, Bethel, Campbellsville, for now. At 12, Milligan, 11, Cotty, 10, FMU, 9, Midland, 8, University of St. Mary's, 7, Warner, 6, Kansas Wesleyan, 5, St. Thomas, 4, Weber, 3, Keiser, 2, Thomas, and 1, Ottawa. So, there you go. Those are your power rankings. First one of the season. Ooh, okay, that wraps up this episode of the Playmakers Corner podcast. Thank you so much if you listened throughout this whole thing. I'm sure you did. Even if you made it to the end, still appreciate you. Really appreciate the support for this. Love covering women's flag football. It is definitely the highlight. That's not a shot, I don't think. Whatever, I don't care. It's the highlight of my year. And so I really enjoy it. So much good football. Great coaching, too, as well. Shout out the coaches who just put their players in excellent positions and are obviously moving this game forward. And so really looking forward to the rest of this season here. A lot of life is going on between myself, Cody, Gideon, and so we'll hopefully be releasing an episode every week. No promises. Sometimes it might be every 2 weeks, but usually it should be every week, hopefully on Mondays, just so that we could continue to get this out, continue to cover this great sport here and all of these great athletes. And if you want to continue to support us, go ahead and follow us on all of our social medias to know when new episodes or content is posted, plus updates from these games here. We try to post those when possible. And also, if you want to, send us any notes from those games or opinions, go ahead and do it, over our DMs at Playmakers Corner. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you want to, send it personally to either myself or Cody, go ahead too, and we'll work with what we got. So there you go. You could find our social medias by following or finding us on Playmakers Corner. So there you go. And then on top of that, go ahead, show some love on YouTube, Tik Tok, Apple Podcast. What's the other one? Spotify. Leave us a good review. We really appreciate those. And what do you think about this week 1? I know only like 4-ish teams played and there are only 4 games, but would love to hear some really good opinions here, as we have been talking to some people and excited for the rest of the season. But I have been your host for this episode, Simon Villanoz, aka Coach V, and I'll see you next time.